Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new, and today I'll be breaking down this two-game NBA slate here for Thursday night on DraftKings. Only two games because of the Thursday night football game, which also have a video out for that. But yeah, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I'll be talking through my favorite plays, some core plays, and building a potential early look lineup for you guys here. As always, stay updated with the injury news because most of the time, 99% of the time in NBA DFS basketball, the slate just absolutely changes right before lock, and you're going to have to completely change your lineup. So, as I always say, make sure to stay updated with injury news. And if you guys want a more in-depth breakdown, I'll be able to do that on my Patreon link down below for this two-game slate here. I'll be, writing down a breakdown for each team. Two games, all four teams. Make sure to check that out. Link down below. But hopping into the slate here, tonight was, I'd say, frustrating just because with all the injury news is crazy. There's just so many ways to go with this slate, with a ton of mid range guys and some spin up options that look fantastic. And as someone like me who's a single entry, uh, pretty much just a one lineup guy, it's really hard to get to all the plays that you really like. And so today I really liked a ton of the good plays today, but unfortunately went with Tatum, who was fine. Not the best, not the worst there. I think he got like 51 fantasy points, but didn't help that Drew Holiday was super chalky and he only got like 10 less. So made him a little bit more optimal there. Pritchard was very disappointed off the bench for me. And then I built around the fact I want to get super contrarian and risky. Did not work out when I played Anthony Davis hoping for LeBron James to get ruled out. Did not work out, so kind of get screwed there. So just frustrating, just because I got a little bit too contrarian when I could have just kept it safe and I would have hit on a lot of plays. So not going to cash tonight after or 4x night last night, but I can't complain there after cashing yesterday. But yeah, diving into this two-game slate here. Let's get into the odds real quick. And also, it's Anthony Davis, his worst game of the season. Not even lying. Go look at his box score. They're down 25 to the Kings. Just very frustrating there. But yeah, literally his worst game of the season so far. Of course, I played him at super low ownership. It just, it continues. It's been like a week straight of just getting screwed by that stuff. But hopping into this two-game slate here, 4-point spread for the Heat and the Nets, 217.5 game total. And then Thunder and Warriors, 2.5 point spread, 226.5 game total there. And so jumping into this Brooklyn side, as I said, the last slates here for the Brooklyn side, I really do think this team is going to operate like they did last year in terms of their offense, where it was led by Mikal Bridges, and then Dinwiddie is kind of that to be to a secondary score to Bridges, and we've kind of seen that the past two games with no Simmons and no Cam Thomas to steal away usage and shots. 2 games ago, Mikal Bridges a 50 bomb there, shot it almost 30 times against Washington. Against Orlando, shot almost 20 times, went for a 40 bomb there. So really do think this offense is going to operate with, Mikal Bridges leading the way. So I just want to show you guys the per 36 stats of them last year to kind of show you a little bit more of what I mean when it comes to the Nets here. So Roto Grinders, free website, free tool here. We are able to see all these different settings and stats for these teams here. Obviously, we're only like 10 games into the season. It makes sense to go back to 2022, 2023 to kind of see how these guys played. But if we go to, obviously it's kind of skewed as well with these guys. So you can obviously take people off the court. So let's do that real fast because it is pulling in Kevin Durant, which obviously we don't want. Who else do we want to take off here? Kyrie. Everyone else should be fine in terms of what we kind of see. We can kind of ignore some people here, but let's just take those two guys off. Um, I wish you could set it to. There might be a way to set it to like the last 20 games or something like that. But yeah, let's just take those two guys off. And as we can see here, Nick Claxton, really solid player there. With no, obviously no KD and Durant, but really solid play there, starting center. Mikal Bridges, as you can see here, 41 and a half actual DK points per game there. When it was kind of his team, Spencer Dinwiddie was close to 40 there. So a lot to like here for this Brooklyn side. As I said, Bridges should be option one. Dinwiddie's going to be option two. Obviously, he's very boom or bust, but he should have a very solid ceiling now when it comes to the assist. Does have that 10 plus assist upside, so he does have double upside. The minutes should be mid 30s as well. So ton of interest in Mikal Bridges and Dinwiddie. Claxton, a lot of interest in him. dealt with a ton of foul trouble there. That's the risk with him. Super foul prone, but if you can stay out of it, he has massive, massive upside. And Cam Johnson, same thing. Super score independent, but the minutes should be there. And if he hits his shots, he can easily go for 30, 35 plus. Comes in at a pretty solid price tag. So I really, really like the starting five here for the Nets. Lonnie Walker should come off the bench here. Didn't get to see the best minutes the last two games, even with Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons out. Held him to around 14 that first game, 20 the second game. So I don't love the price tag here at 5,700. He just becomes more so a contrarian play off the bench there. If he's gonna be coming at super low ownership, sure you can take a shot on him because if he comes in, he could get extended and he can go off here as you can see versus Boston. He went for almost a 40 bomb in 20 minutes. 23 minutes there against Milwaukee. He went for 28. So could still get you there. Could still be a very contrarian option, but I do not love it for kind of his minutes right now and his price. DFS should still be in the starting lineup. His efficiency and the output has really dropped. More of those boomer bust guys. I'd rather get to Royce O'Neal off the bench there, or I think he might be starting. No, it looks like he's moved back to the bench. Sorry, they've kind of been shifting their lineup around, but moved back to the bench. I'd rather go to him. He's just a little bit better offensive a player and a little bit better when it comes to getting assists and steals compared to DFS. So I'd rather get to Royce O'Neal. I think he's a solid play there, 5,000 off the bench. Does have some good upside. Dennis Smith Jr. playing about 20 minutes there. One of those things I'd rather get to him than Lonnie Walker. Cheaper, probably be higher owned, but still I feel a little bit safer for $1,000 less. And then De'Aaron Sharp, his minutes actually have been up lots recently, 19 and 24. So if they're going to continue that, he is a really strong option at 4,400. A very, very efficient guy here. Very, very productive guy, I should say. Not efficient, but productive. But one of those guys who's super foul prone. And it's one of those things, his minutes aren't a guarantee. We've seen, some games so far this season where he's barely played and they've been really, really shorthanded in spots that he should have probably started. So that's the risk there is his minutes aren't a guarantee and he's very foul prone. But if he stays out of it and he sees the minutes, he should be productive. Watford kind of sees about 9-ish minutes around there. And that's really it for Brooklyn. For the Miami side here, Jimmy and Bam look at like very strong contrarian plays at the top. Jimmy had a really, really good game there. 10 of 14, went for a 50 bomb there, 32 points. Got to the free throw line a ton. And then Bam, he's been just really, really good here. They've both been stepping up without Tyler Hero. So once again, I think they're both really, really strong plays. Not my favorite. I do think it comes down to ownership for me. I do think a lot of people are going to fade them. They're going to go to the Brooklyn Stars, the OKC Stars, and the Golden State people, and they're not going to play these two. So I do think they'll come at a pretty low ownership and be very contrarian plays. Duncan Robinson has been fantastic the past few games. It's just one of those things. I don't buy into the rebounding and assists. He's solid at them. I just don't buy into him going for 9 that first game there, and then 13 there. I just don't buy it. He's had a really solid floor and ceiling right now, but I don't know. It just feels a little bit like a fluke to me with Duncan Robinson. So he's more so a secondary option for me. Still have a lot of interest in Kyle Lowry. Minutes were not great there against Charlotte. Looks like he picked up 2 fouls before the first minute of play, and he only really played, barely played after that just because he got out of it, had gotten more foul trouble. So I think that's a fluke. I do think a lot of people will buy into that and be like, oh, he only played 15 minutes. They're not going to really play him, and he should have some low ownership here. So I do really like him. He should see mid-30s minutes, should be pretty aggressive. So I'm going to throw him in there for right now. Josh Richardson, his minutes have kind of been all over the place, still not super, super aggressive. So I think he's more so a fine play there at 4,800. Highsmith, still getting the start. He can be productive, as you can see here, but he did get 5 steals, which is 10 points there. So that really, really helped out his score. I think he's just an okay play. I'd still rather get to Royce O'Neal or probably even DFS compared to Highsmith and Richardson here at very similar price tags. Jaime Jaquez has been really, really solid off the bench here. As you can see, the past 2 games, he's been pretty, pretty efficient. He's been aggressive as well. So I do think I'd rather get to him than those other 2 guys because he's been more aggressive. He's seen better minutes. And that's kind of why. So even if he's higher owned, I'd still rather get to him because of those. That's really it. Drew Smith, not seeing much. And that is it. Looks like Caleb Martin is back, I believe. So it looks like he should be good to go. It'll be interesting to kind of see what minutes he gets. I'm assuming 15, 20 at most. If that's the case, no real interest in him. And then Kevin Love, his minutes are all over the board. You can't really trust him right now. Moving on to the second game here. Draymond Green is suspended 5 games, so we'll get to the Warriors in a second here. But absolutely love SGA as a spin up play here. He's been fantastic. One of the best young guards in the league, if not one of the best players in the league right now. Not a hot take either. He's one of the best. Been my boy for a minute. Absolutely cooks dudes. Absolutely love him right now. Chet Holmgren, I think it's a strong play coming off a very disappointing there against Victor. 9 and 7, 30 minutes. It's one of those things, he's not very aggressive. He kind of has his role, but he does have that huge upside there with the blocks and can go for a double double. So I think it's a strong play. Not my favorites, but more so a strong secondary option. Josh Giddey, he's kind of there, kind of a similar thing where it's like he does have some upside, but you don't feel great about it because he's not taking a ton of shots. So his ceiling is kind of limited right now for his price. Would rather get to a guy like Jalen Williams, who is going to be that secondary option, that secondary score. He's kind of been scoring dependent a lot recently, but he can go for those crazy, rebound and assist games and, score the ball pretty efficiently. And he usually is a pretty good, defender where he can get some steals. So I actually do have a good amount of interest in him. Lou Dort's a solid contrarian option. Like, it's one of those things, another one of those guys who can randomly pop off, hit a few threes, get a few steals, and could go for 30 plus. So I don't mind if you fall on him. I just want to go out of my way to play him. They're giving, Kaysen Wallace, about 20-ish minutes. He looks okay. Kenrich Williams is back. He should see around, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I think I'd rather get to him than Kaysen Wallace if you're looking for cheap value. And same thing with Jalen Williams, about 15-ish minutes. And Isaiah Joe should see around 15 minutes as well if you're looking for some value. Don't love it right now. Not it seems to be more of a balanced build approach for this slate tomorrow. Steph is still out. So we'll get, Chris Paul starting. And then Draymond Green obviously is suspended for 5 games, which I'm assuming they'll probably start Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Looney. I'm assuming Sarge and Wiggins. And then off the bench, we'll see Kuminga, Peyton, Moody, Podzimski, or however you say it, and then some Trace Jackson Davis. That's kind of the rotation they threw out there that last game. So a lot to like here for the Warriors. They're going to be super, super popular to get pieces from just because they're very shorthanded, they're very cheap, and there's a lot of usage to go around. So Chris Paul, I think, still is an absolute lock. Not the best game there without Steph, but still did not hurt you. 34 fantasy points. You would have liked him to be more aggressive or getting more assists, but the Warriors did really struggle offensively than that first game. So I really like Chris Paul here once again, 6,700. I think Klay Thompson makes for a very strong play. He should shoot the ball close to 20 times. Obviously, a scoring dependent guard, but still with no Steph, there is a lot of usage to go around. So I have a ton of interest in him. I think Looney's a really strong play here. A very efficient and effective guy here. Very productive, 5,400. We've seen some massive games from him in under 30 minutes this season. So I have a lot of interest in him at 5,400. A lot of interest in Sarge. Sarge, I'm assuming is going to be mega chalk. I played him. I think he's like 1% ownership last slate there. Obviously, it really helped out that Draymond got kicked out, but still, he's been super productive, even playing alongside Draymond, getting about 20 minutes. So once again, I do have a lot of interest in Sarge. But if he's extremely, extremely like 50, 60% owned, I don't mind, going to Looney and going to other options there, like maybe a Royce O'Neal, to kind of get off that ownership if you want to get a little bit different for the slate because it is a 2-gamer. So you're going to have to get different somehow. Wiggins still didn't see 30 minutes, but did shoot the ball 15 times, which you like to see. Very aggressive there. So, I mean, if he comes out and be aggressive aggressive like that once again, way too cheap there at 5,100. So I do have a ton of interest in him. I'm sure, Podzimski. I think it was a little bit fluky that he played 29 minutes or 39 minutes. He did really well in those amount of times. He's actually been pretty efficient and pretty productive when he has gotten minutes this season. So I do think I might, bite the bullet there and play him at 4,600. He's going to be pretty high in terms of ownership. So I do think it's one of those things where if these starters are actually playing well, like this game, the last game, they weren't playing well. I do think it was a slight blowout there against Minnesota, if not a lot, a decent blowout for a while, maybe within 10 to 15 points there. Don't quote me, not 100% correct on that, but I think that was a case which did lead to some more pods minutes and for him to be a little bit more aggressive. So it's one of those things. If Chris Paul, Clay, and Draymond, Chris Paul, Clay, Wiggins, and like Saric, if they're all doing well, I really don't think they're going to throw pods in there for like 30, 25, or even 20 minutes. Maybe he gets 10 to 15. So he definitely is still very risky, even though he had 39 minutes last game. Kamiga, very disappointing there. Only saw 16 minutes, was not the best. So I don't mind buying low on him. He should get 20 plus minutes. Peyton, his role doesn't change. Should shoot around 16 to 20 minutes. Same thing with Moses. You would have thought he would have got more, but still, his role didn't change too much there. So I don't think you need to get crazy. But I do think this is the strongest value you can get on the board is going to be, Kaminga, Peyton, Moody, and Trace Jackson Davis for the Warriors. So uh, that's it. Hit that like button. And to fill out this lineup, I think right now it's going to be super hard not to get to SGA, but I think right now I'm gonna avoid them just for the video, sake of the video. Gonna throw in Bridges. Really, really like this Brooklyn side. Love the price of Claxton. Really, really like Dinwiddie right now, but I think I'm gonna avoid them. And we're gonna go to Miami real fast. If there's anyone else, not loving Miami right now. And let's just keep it on this OKC and Golden State game here. I'm going to throw in Wiggins there. Who else do I want to get to here? Really, really like Jalen Williams. And let's see if we can fit in SGA. Can't. Let's see here. I'm going to go with Clay. And then that leaves us 5,800 left over. Let's take this off, see who we can get to. Duncan Robinson, if you want to land on him. Could probably get to Looney if we switch this around. It's Chris Paul, only point guard eligible. Same thing with Lowry. Klay Thompson, we'll take him and switch him to. We'll kind of configure this lineup around. We'll put Klay in the shooting guard spot here. And then we'll throw Lowry in the guard spot. Actually, let's do this. Let's put Lowry in the beginning guard spot there. We'll put Chris Paul in that bottom guard spot, and then utility. I'm going to go with Looney for now. So that's the early look build. Hope you guys liked the video. Hit the like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.